Yeah, that's right. That is that's right. You can't. I'm gonna take my hat off. Gonna take my hat off. Where is it? There we go. Wow, yeah. Look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna take my hat off for this video. Go on, say something. Go on, say something. Look at my hair. I have never given a shit about my hair since I was 18. I look like Vegeta. I look like a Tekken character's dad. I've never cared about my hair. I was actually thinking about just getting a mohawk. What do you think? Get a mohawk. But anyway, calling a man bald is sex-related harassment employment tribunal rules. Tony Finn, who worked at West Yorkshire manufacturing firm for 24 years, is in line for compensation. Calling a man bald is sex-related harassment, an employment tribunal has ruled. Hair loss is much more prevalent among men than women, so using it to describe someone is a form of sex-related harassment, a judgment has concluded. Commenting on a man's baldness in the workplace is equivalent to remarking on the size of a woman's breasts, the finding suggests. Yes, how dare you? How dare you? You can't make fun of me. Can't make fun of my shiny bald head. The ruling made by a panel of three men who, in making their judgment, bemoaned their own lack of hair. They make the rules. They make the rules with their hand wringing and their bald heads, the bald men. That's why they wear those hats. Jokes. For legal reasons, that's a joke. Comes in a case between a veteran electrician and the manufacturing firm where he was employed. Tony Finn, who is in line for compensation, had worked for the West Yorkshire-based British Bung Company. What an unfortunate name. For almost 24 years when he was fired in May of last year. He took the company to tribunal, claiming, among other things, he had been a victim of sex-related harassment after an incident with the factory supervisor, Jamie King. Finn alleged that during a shop floor row in July of 2019, King had referred to him as a bald cunt. The tribunal heard Finn was less upset by the Anglo-Saxon language than the comment on his experience by the Anglo-Saxon language. Is this guy Scottish by any chance? The allegation resulted in the panel, led by Judge Jonathan Brain, deliberating on whether remarking on his baldness was simply insulting or actually harassment. We have little doubt that being referred to in this pejorative manner was unwanted conduct as far as Finn was concerned, the tribunal found. This is strong language, although, as we find, industrial language was commonplace on the West Yorkshire factory floor. In our judgment, Mr. King crossed the line by making remarks personal to the claimant about his appearance. Finn had not complained about the use of industrial language, but was particularly affronted at being called bald, the panel said. This is a great story. It is difficult to conclude, other than that Mr. King uttered those words with the purpose of violating Finn's dignity and creating an intimidating, hostile, degrading, humiliating, or offensive environment for him, the judge found. Of his own admission, Mr. King's intention was to threaten Finn and to insult him. In our judgment, there is a connection between the word bald and on the one hand, and the protected characteristic of sex on the other. The company's lawyer was right to submit that women as well as men may be bald. Look at Will Smith's wife. However, as all three members of the tribunal will vouchsafe, baldness is much more prevalent in men than in women. We find it to be inherently related to sex. The baldies shall rise. The baldies have risen. They've managed to find their way into our courts, into our institutions. They're overthrowing people on the factory floor. As part of this ruling, the panel raised a previous tribunal case where a man was found to have sexually discriminated against a woman by remarking on the size of her breasts. To rebut the firm's point, it is much more likely that a person on the receiving end of a comment, such as that which is made in that case, would be female, the tribunal said. I mean, that's not always true. I call my writer B cups all the time because he's fat. He got some lovely big old bellies. So too, it is much more likely that a person on the receiving end of a remark such as that made by Mr. King would be male. Mr. King made the remark with a view to hurting the claimant by commenting on his appearance, which is often found amongst men. The tribunal therefore determines that by referring to the claimant as a bald cunt, Mr. King's conduct was unwanted. It was a violation of the claimant's dignity. It created an intimidating environment for him. It was done for that purpose, and it related to the claimant's sex. Finn's compensation will be determined at a later date. Now then. Oh, don't fucking hell, don't say that. Fucking Jimmy Savile fucking language. Now then. Bring me the child. Okay, so should you be able to call someone a bald cunt in the workplace? Depends on the workplace, right? I don't think, I mean, I've worked the doors, I've worked in factories, you know, I have worked in such environments as well, and when I was back doing private security as well, I wasn't just doing doors, I was also guarding the building sites, because do you know that one of those big rolls of copper wire is worth £500,000? So that's why building sites hire security. And I've seen builders, I've seen the way they act, I've seen people on factory floors, I've done it myself, I've wandered around places like that saying things that would be considered crimes because everybody else is saying it to me. Right, so the guy going, my gaffer called me a bald cunt. Grow up, you weak prick. Man, like, I mean, if you're going to be bald, you at least need to make up for it with a touch of masculinity. You know, I might not have my hair, however, I will still be able to beat a man while I fuck you good, right? Right? You need to compensate in other ways, right? However, going, manager call me baldy, he called me baldy, and I don't have hair on my head, and it made me sad. Like, grow the fuck up, right? However, should you be able to go around saying that in the workplace? If the workplace says don't go around saying that, then okay, that's fine. It's in the workplace. However, in general, out in the street. Now, the problem is this might set a precedent. In the street, if you call somebody a bald cunt in the street, like, harassment that targets people for their protected innate characteristics, as it says in, like, all these fucking laws everywhere. If you call someone a bald cunt out in the street, that might fall under sexist harassment. There you go. You just committed a fucking hate crime, and that's going on your criminal record. Right? So, the fact that this has been ruled in an employment tribunal, and everyone will just find this story funny, and it's a fucking funny story, however, there are ramifications to stuff like this. If it can happen in an employment tribunal, then maybe that ruling can also get applied to public law. Right, where if someone's in a fight in a street and they call the other guy a bald cunt or a fat cunt or something, that could result in you getting arrested for a hate crime, which is, because we have a government-mandated politeness here in Britain, where you can form a grooming gang and get a slap in the wrist and probably not get arrested at all, but if you call someone a mean word in the street, oh boy, they'll come and take you down. Okay, so this story, it's funny. It is a funny story. But there are going to be ramifications for this because I've got a feeling that the result of this case may set a precedent for public law.